Hello and welcome back to the DocFest Exchange, part of Sheffield Documentary Festival. This space and these series of talks are programmed in collaboration with the Wellcome Trust. They're a global charity who support creative ideas and talent inspired by curiosity. So what a better place than to be here at the DocFest. And today we're delighted to introduce Jane Gauntlett from the In My Shoes project, and Emma Cooper from Rocket, who's going to have a conversation with Jane about her work. If you haven't had a chance to see the piece, there is an opportunity until 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock today to go along at the site gallery to go and visit that piece. 5:30. This work is part of the Alternate Realities programme at Sheffield Doc Fest, and Mark Atkins, the director, is here in the audience. These are really short conversations to stimulate and have the opportunity to make connections with some of the work and the creators. So there'll be an opportunity to ask questions. The talk will last about 20 minutes, and then we'll go open up for questions. My name's Arim Marachu, and I'm the curator of this space. So I'm going to hand over now to Emma from Rocket to kick us off. Thank you.
Hello everybody. Hello. I can operate a microphone. Yay. Hello, Jane.
Hello, Emma.
It's been a pleasure to meet you during the festival. I'm wondering about the best way to set up the piece. I think if we go straight to the film clip, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. I was sent this video clip like last week, 2 weeks ago, and being an amazing researcher, I watched it with no context. I'd not followed up and read anything. I just watched the video. I spent the entire time watching the video being afraid. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a man in the train. And I just had this overwhelming sense that you were going to get attacked. But the film's actually something else entirely. So do you want to talk a little bit about what you wanted to achieve with the film?
Absolutely. Shall I tell you a little bit about the start of the project and where it came from?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Put it into perspective. So the In My Shoes project started as an audio project. It was designed to be an alternative method of communication. I had a brain injury and developed epilepsy. I was in a coma for 3 weeks and lost the ability to walk and talk. So work became very difficult, relationships became very difficult. I felt that everyone around me was much more frightened of the brain injury and the epilepsy than I was. And I wanted to explore showing them the world from my perspective to help them to understand it. Because living with a brain injury and epilepsy was really hard work, but I was also learning really interesting things about the world, and I learned a lot about the kindness of strangers. So I started making audio pieces, and it says, close your eyes, it tells you a little bit about the world and that experience, and then opens them and encourages you to look around at the people around you. They're designed to be done in cafes, on trains, on buses, so they're recreating real-life experiences. And then I became a mentor working for people who've been through trauma. One of the main things that I worked out from doing that was that relationships were very hard. So I designed a piece for a mother and daughter. They had an argument. They'd had a really tough time. And they were talking to me about it. And to me, it felt like they were both saying exactly the same thing, but just that they couldn't quite connect with each other to work it out. So I worked with the mother and the daughter to recreate the experience with them from their perspective in a similar style to this. And then they could hear each other's stories from their perspective. And it went really well. It was an experiment, and I was really pleased with how it went. I got a lot of hugs, and I still get Christmas cards, which is really nice. So I just started doing that more and more. And then I discovered audio-visual technology, so video goggles. They're old-school Vuzix. They look so old-fashioned in comparison to the Oculus.
They're super cool. They're so cool. They're much better.
But we had to design a way to hold them onto people's faces, and the only way we could work it out was to use a stocking. So we actually wrap a stocking around their head over them to hold them in place so they don't fall off. So it was very much a DIY project. And I thought, actually, maybe this is more immersive. Maybe using this technology would be able to show them the world through my eyes, and they'd be able to hear my thoughts as well. I also wanted to... I have a theatre background, and I wanted to make it more immersive and more interactive. So the person is... So this is... you saw a clip from it. So the audience member comes into an empty space. I give them my handbag, my watch, my fountain pen, and my notebook. I say, and a bottle of water. I say, for the next 10 minutes, you're going to be in my shoes. And then I leave them to it. I say, give them the goggles. These are my eyes. These are my thoughts. Did I say that already? Sorry if I did. And then they're guided through it. So when they open them, they're seeing the train platform. The next scene is on a train. So after the platform, it says, close your eyes. And then, and I forgot to say that we make it smell. So I was on a train platform in Oxford at midnight, and it smelled horrifically of urine. So we bring smells up around you to create that environment.
It's delightful. It stays with you after the experience. It's amazing.
Good. And then we use fans to make it feel like the train's coming past. So it's how close can I get people to being in that situation. So you're asked to close your eyes, and when you open them, you're on the train. And I walk down the train, and participants follow me. They follow my footsteps. We worked out that if I move forward, participants will also move forward. And when I reach down for the table, they also reach out for the table, and they sit down on a seat that they didn't know was there when they put the goggles on. So it's amazing the trust that you can build up in someone if you use the right techniques. And it guides them through an epileptic seizure that I had. And it's quite subtle. It's not very dramatic.
No, I was really surprised by it. As I said, I was constantly thinking that the man was going to get you, that you were being threatened by him, and actually going through having a fit was really disturbing, and it was really really unsettling, and like I said before, the feeling of going through that stuck with me for quite a long time after, and it really made me think about you and kind of what you go through, and it was just really effective.
Thank you. That's a really nice thing to say.
It's really cool.
So we poison the water and things like that. So we go quite far. We're quite mean.
It's not actual poison, though, is it?
No, it's Barocca.
Awesome.
So it tastes very weird if you've got your eyes closed and you're expecting it to taste like water. So it's mind trickery. So even really tiny things, when you're wearing these headsets, even really tiny things can seem like really big things.
Has anybody ever responded badly to that? Has anybody reacted badly or been upset or felt? Because we watched, you did the performance for Crossover Labs on Sunday, Crossover Summit, sorry, and we watched Garbo Aurora from the UN going through the experience, which was something to see.
Wearing my clothes.
It was brilliant. But I felt, so the experience of watching somebody go through the experience, I felt really concerned for him. I felt really kind of, not that you were abusing your power, but that you were taking liberties. And I wondered if anybody had ever kind of struck back at you or like responded negatively because of that.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from with that. I think what's very important is to get an idea of the person before we do it. So we get an idea as to how they're feeling about doing the experience, and you can tell quite a lot by how people move and how confident they are. They sort of some people invite you to be a bit meaner and a bit harsher, and some people you can tell it's about designing the experience for them. So not just doing it. I work in interactive theatre a lot, so it's really important to work with people who have experience in that to be able to pick up on that. It's about being sensitive, really.
You set the scene a little bit with them as well, so you kind of take them through what they're going to be experiencing.
And I make it really clear to them that they can stop at any time and I won't be offended. But nobody, as far as we've done this thousands of times now, it ran away with me and took me around the world, which was brilliant and a complete shock. But I don't think we've had anyone that stopped halfway through. I get a lot of cuddles, which is really, really nice. And what I've really enjoyed is that quite often it opens a dialogue that people tell me things they haven't told other people before.
I did that straight away, didn't I?
Yeah, and it's and I see story as a currency in some ways, showing an honesty and a vulnerability can be really great. But I do have to be very careful. I'm very confidential. I'm very careful about that information because I do understand that people are in quite a vulnerable situation after that.
Yeah.
And it's my job to make them feel okay.
I think it was really interesting what we were discussing when we first met around privilege and expectation. So you are a petite white lady, and you get the sense that people want to look after you, and you are concerned about how maybe less privileged people with epilepsy get treated in the world. I wondered if you'd like to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so the epilepsy isn't just about seizures. There's half an hour to an hour before and half an hour to an hour afterwards where I have no boundaries, really. I don't really understand what I've learnt about society, and there are experiences that could have got me into a lot of trouble. So one of them, I woke up on a stranger's sofa and there was a lady asleep on it next to me. I was wearing nothing but one of my partner's old shirts and a pair of Y-fronts. Don't tend to wear Y-fronts very often. So I was quite confused. But the peacefulness of this lady lying next to me, and she woke up too, and we had a cup of tea, and she revealed that I had walked up to her in the street wearing nothing but one of my partner's old shirts. And I'd asked her where I could buy biscuits, which I'm celiac, and there's a lot of biscuits that I can't eat. You don't tend to be able to buy them from shops that are 24 hours. So I don't know where that came from, but I was very bruised from the seizure. This would have been post-seizure. I was very bruised, and the lady assumed, I told her not to call, she said, shall I call the police? Shall I call an ambulance? I told her not to. I made it very clear that that would get me into a lot of trouble. I didn't want her to do that. I didn't want to cause a fuss. And I think she thought that I was a victim of domestic abuse, or she couldn't work out. So what she decided was the best thing to do was wrap me in her coat and take me back to her flat. She wanted to give me some dignity, so she wanted to give me some underwear, but she didn't have any that were clean or that she had that were new. And then she realised that she'd bought some for her husband just before he died, so she gave me a pair of those. So it was just a moment.
The thoughtfulness of that is amazing.
Yeah, and just a moment of intimacy that I don't tend to have with strangers, but also the realisation that I wonder if I'd been someone else that had done that in the night. I wonder
how people would respond if you were a
male,
black, maybe a teen, maybe a young man. And I think the importance of your work is kind of making people reflect on how they treat each other and how we all behave as human beings, which is really awesome. Have you got any plans for new work? What are you gonna do after the festival? Where are you gonna move the project?
So the In My Shoes project is becoming a library of interactive experiences which use technology. The focus is always on narrative, and if technology makes that more immersive and more interactive, then that's interesting for me. But I'm being very careful to not get excited by new inventions and use them just for the sake of it. It's always very much about the audience experience and whether it can be used with theatre to tell a story. I've just made a piece which I showed you, Dancing with Myself, which is set in a restaurant, and that was the first 360 piece we've made. I'm going to make some more of those, but I'm really excited about making some that aren't about me. So that's the next plan. So working with people, with a lady that hears voices and exploring that, and working with a gentleman that has obsessive compulsive disorder. So I'm just really curious, but I think something else I do need to make clear is that with empathy, it's not just about illness, it's about being human. So any experience, I think everyone has stories to share. So I would really like to make a comedy piece, because I haven't seen any comedy VR pieces yet.
Yes, please. That would be so awesome. I love Dogfest, but it depresses me epically. I wonder if you could share with us about can we talk about money?
Yeah, we can talk about money.
Can we talk about how sustainable this project is based on the highly individual experience everybody receives? You say you've performed over 1,000 times this year. Like, how sustainable is that?
Yeah, it's
a mean question, I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. So the first piece, Waking in Slough, cost £50 to shoot. I only had enough money for one train ticket, so we just had to, for three of us, so we just had to do it. I did it with a tiny cinematographer with her legs wrapped around my waist, and an old dictaphone. So it was kind of very much a budget thing. And the technology was bought for me by someone that was interested in the project that I'd met when I was in hospital. I bumped into him in a restaurant, and he said, what do you do now?
That's so cool.
Yeah, apparently I'd met him in hospital. He was in the bed opposite me. And I didn't know this, I don't remember any of it, but apparently I used to go around in the mornings and ask everybody what they wanted from the shop in my wheelchair. I don't remember being in it. And I'd get one of them to distract the staff so I could go out to the Tesco round the corner. And he told me that he'd see me in sort of 20 minutes later with a porter pushing me in with Daily Mail hidden under here for one guy, and hula hoops and other random bits and pieces that we'd got from the shop. And he just said to me, what are you doing now? And I told him about it. And he said, can you wait here for 10 minutes? And I said, yeah. And he came back and put an envelope with enough money to buy all the technology on the table, and told me that he believed that I could do whatever I planned to do, and he didn't even tell me his name.
That's so cool.
Yeah, he didn't want me to feel like I owed him anything. He didn't want to put that sort of pressure on me. He said he just needed me to know that he believed in me, and that was... So I wonder if he knows how far it's gone, actually, and what that's done for me. But then funding that has been through doing public speaking, which is quite funny given that I've got aphasia. I found it really odd that my career has taken that route. And other events, but I've also been doing other things on the side. It's really hard because scalability is quite tough with this technology. So I've been very excited by the new piece, Dancing with Myself, was sponsored by an American company, a pharmaceutical company, and they've been touring that around different events and things like that. So that's public speaking. So that's been how we've funded this one. But I'm really excited by the new technology and technology becoming more widely available, because that really helps with scalability. It means I can show it to more people at the same time. I can carry it around in a suitcase. I can design it as a package to roll out, maybe turn into an app. So I'm just playing with it. It's going to, yeah. I'm not sure we're going to work out a way to make it financially scalable, but I'm going to try very, very hard.
Good. It's something that that fascinates me, is that kind of the duality of doing these things, of trying to achieve something, doing a creative act, but also like paying your mortgage and and not doing yourselves out of like you deserve to be paid for your work, and it's quite interesting that oftentimes these experiences are free, so they're free to the public, but that has an innate cost to you. Cool. There was something else I was going to ask. I can't think. Oh, could you talk a little bit about... I know you said that you were doing some performances in Parliament. Could you talk a little bit about what you were trying to achieve and if you think it worked?
Yeah, so when I started this project, I thought, right, what do I want to do with this project? I want to change my relationship with my medical team. I want to communicate with them what I need and what's going on. Also with my friends and family, and then also with employers. But one of the big dreams was using it as a training tool in Parliament, because I'd really like to put people in the shoes of the people they're making decisions about and for, and just explore empathy. And empathy is a word I've heard a lot in Sheffield. And we did a workshop there, and it was full, booked out. And it went really, really well. So I'm just exploring, pushing that and taking it a bit further, but we'll see.
We'll see. I guess it's quite hard to say. Did they learn anything?
The reports were great. It was
That's
a
good.
very, very emotional, intimate experience. The Q&A lasted for 4 hours.
Wow.
It went on to the pub when we got kicked out. People were
Excellent.
saying, I haven't dared tell my boss about my epilepsy or my mental health, and I really want to do that. Whether they did or not, I don't know. It might have just been an emotional evening with a glass of wine saying that, but that was what I wanted to do, is sort of give people a good space to be able to share their stories and talk about it.
Cool. Okay, I think we're going to throw it out for questions. So, does anybody have a question for Jane?
You can ask me anything. I've been asked all sorts of ridiculous questions. And the idea about this is to not worry about saying the right thing or using the right terminology, because I don't mind. So feel free to say anything. Or not ask any questions.
This guy.
Hi. What was the most difficult part of putting your experience onto like a screen or into like an interactive experience?
In terms of practicalities, it was really good fun, and it's a constant experiment. In terms of emotionally, it's been exhausting. It's great, and that I'm tired says a good thing about the project. But I think the thing I found the hardest is that with the brain injury and epilepsy, I joke about it a bit. You know, there's silly stories. I had to be really honest with myself and also the people that I'm showing this to. And that was much harder than I expected it to be. It was a good process to go through. And I think it's helped in a way. I think that since I made, especially Dancing with Myself, the new piece, I think that I've got much more acceptance of the brain injury and epilepsy, and I've stopped beating myself up so much. I've stopped feeling so ashamed. I think sharing a story that's so intimate with an audience that take it so well has really made me realise that it's okay for me to say, I need some help. Or, did that answer the question? I get a bit distracted. But I always try it out on me. So when I'm playing with a new technology, I always use myself as a guinea pig, because I am very aware that it puts you in a vulnerable situation. And I really want to explore it myself before I ask someone else to do it, so I can support them and warn them. You know, I'm not going to try and pull anyone into giving anything away and then just leave them.
I wondered how triggering it is. So if you're an epilepsy sufferer, because obviously you don't want to trigger somebody to have an actual fit. I wondered, have you done it with other people who suffer from epilepsy? Is that a stupid question?
No, it's a good question, and yes, I have. We did it at the American Epilepsy Society meeting in Philadelphia, We also did it at the American Association of Neurologists in Vancouver and other events like that around America. I guess I was a bit anxious, and people, we tell people what's going on and what they're going to see, and quite often people will say, I've got epilepsy, and I'll have a chat with them. But if someone told me I couldn't do something because I had epilepsy, I think I'd be quite cross. So I have to really put myself in their shoes. It's not okay for me to say, oh no, you can't do it.
I love how you are actually made of, you are a very fierce lady who you kind of, you put out this very soft, very kind of, very lovely demeanour. You have a really lovely demeanour.
Thank
But
you.
you're actually rock solid. You're like tough. You're really tough. We went out drinking last night, and I can tell you that Jane knows how to party, which is really excellent. Has anybody else got any more questions?
Hi, thanks. It was really interesting to hear about how talking to policymakers, but also to your medical team, and how has it changed the relationship, if you could comment on that at all?
I think this is a very general statement. It's not about any particular professional, but I think I was quite anti the medication for epilepsy because it can be quite tiring. It can have quite difficult side effects. But I think doing this and showing it to medics really helped me to realise that what I'm not trying to do with the medication is stop my seizures at any cost. It's about building me a quality of life. It's about giving me a good quality of life. So managing those seizures to a point where I can be creative, I can stay awake all day, sometimes I take a nap, actually quite often I take a nap. But it changed our relationship in that way because I was able to communicate that and they were able to understand me and my ambitions and what I was trying to achieve and why being able to write stories and do these things was really important to me. So that was really helpful. Did that answer your question? I get very distracted. Yeah, so that was a big deal.
The other thing that I think is quite interesting is what's the public's reaction been at Sheffield? Because you've had quite a lot of people visit and do the experience. I know you were telling me that you had some teenage boys come and do the experience. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's been great. So we've been stationed in the Union Street Cafe, which is very much a public space and it's a community space. So it's been great. We've had people that are coming to the festival, but also people from Sheffield just passing by. It's been really great to show it to a much more diverse audience. And we did get this gang of teenagers. They're probably a bit older than I think they were. I think I thought they were about 15, but they were probably, I think I'm showing my age a bit, I think they were probably a bit older than that. But they were a bit sort of, oh, what are you doing? What's this about? I don't want to be in your shoes, that kind of thing. And then when they put the headsets on, one of them looked down and he was like, oh, I'm not going to swear in the way that he did because I don't want to get into trouble. my nails are beautiful. He didn't say it quite like that, but I don't want to try and do his accent. Can someone else come in? No, I'm not going to make a... There we go, she did a better job. I was going to try, and then halfway through I thought, no, I'm not going to. But then he sort of commented throughout, so he was saying, oh, I wish I thought about things like that, and I wish, it was really interesting. He had that dialogue, and then it just completely changed our relationship, and that's quite common, that happens a lot. Creatively, it's been really interesting to meet a lot of people that have been working in VR and to talk to them about it and have very open, honest dialogues with them has been great. And share thoughts and knowledge and information has been incredible.
Yesterday, we had a question from the audience for another maker, but I think it's relevant for you as well, which is about the accessibility of VR experiences and where you think... at the moment, I certainly feel like a lot of the VR experiences are actually very inaccessible. So when I speak about accessibility, I'm talking about people with different disabilities being able to engage. So if you are a deaf person or a blind person, how do you explore or kind of have as much of an experience as an able-bodied person?
It's something that I have in mind to explore. Accessibility is really important to me. And it's something I really want to experiment with because technologies are constantly being developed. I think there are some things that I'm going to be able to use to make the experiences more accessible. And I really want to work with people to share their experiences of VR in ways that would make it more inviting and accessible for them, and then work from there and keep developing it as time goes on, as technology is being developed. It's something I'm really excited about because I think it can be quite... There are lots of reasons why it's not an accessible platform.
Yeah, I think your theatre experience, I think that really lends itself to helping develop more accessibility within the work. I think that clock was telling me to shut up. So I would like to say thank you very much to Erima and to the Wellcome Trust for having us, and thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
And thank you, audience.
Thank you very much.